So there's been a debate raging on for a number of years now on which is better, a passive release where the hands relax and do almost nothing through the ball, or an active release where the hands actively throw or whip the club through the ball. Which do you think is right? So we're going to take a little more in-depth look into both styles and see which one is better right after this. Hey, this is Steve with HitItLonger.com. I'm on a mission to hit it longer and straighter off the tee all the way to the green, because I feel like that's just what makes golf more fun for me. If you want to get a little more distance and accuracy into your game and have a little bit more fun at the same time, well, then I hope you'll so hit the subscribe button, like this video at the end if you liked it, leave a comment down below, because that'll bump the YouTube algorithm just a little bit in my favor, and I would really appreciate you supporting me. All right, let's get into the big debate. Which is better, a passive release or an active release? So I'm like Morpheus in the movie The Matrix. All I'm offering you is the truth. You might need to be red-pilled. So first, let's talk about a passive release. A passive release is described by golfers or teachers as one where the body does all the work to square up the club face. The arms and hands get very soft, and there's a feeling that they do not contribute in any way to the golf swing, but instead just get turned through by the body's pivot and turn motion. Now, this is where the title of my video gets a little bit misleading, and I apologize ahead of time. But this idea of making a passive release in a golf swing, well, it's a really nice notion and probably a very valuable set of mental images for some golfers out there who pull and squeeze too much with their arms. A passive release simply does not exist. There is literally no such thing as a passive release. It is impossible. You see, we now know from the study in depth in 3D video systems of torques and forces acting in a golf swing that all good golf swings have quite a bit of active torque being applied into the grip by the hands. So I think somebody estimated once that this was a top 30 teacher who studies all this stuff. He estimated that without any kind of torque being applied by the hands, that the club face would get left open, say at least 30 degrees. So 30 degrees open, that's going to be a shank every time, or the world's worst slice straight to the right. 30 degrees is ridiculous. So there's no doubt, I put up a graph here of the ramping up of torque in a golf swing of someone who's won a major on the PGA Tour, swings at over 120 miles an hour. And you can see here quite clearly that the ramping up of the torque being applied to the grip in order to make the club go from here, and it's got to get back and catch up with the left arm by the time you reach the ball. That does not happen simply by turning alone. So you could make the world's most beautiful, efficient pivot with the most beautiful and elegant and economical handle path, and still that's not going to be enough torque. There is some torque to counter the club to square up, but it's simply not enough to get it back around to its original starting position in order to square up the face and hit for any power at all. Hey, all swings are active releases. Every good player adds a large amount to an extremely large amount of torque, starting way back here, to uncock the wrists and square the face. Now, there's a few different torques that they're applying. There's an uncocking torque, there's a torque to plow the club up the fairway, and then there's a torque to rotate the club about its own axis as well. Those are three torques that get applied to the club via the grip, in addition to whatever is being supplied. And the body turning and the arms turning with it do cause the club to get a little bit of torque added to the grip, but not nearly enough to square it up. Now, are these people who insist or feel like a passive release swing is really good? No, I don't think we can discount everything that they're feeling or saying. In fact, the feel of a passive hands or passive release swing is a really good idea to think about and strive for some golfers out there. Now, there are those golfers who, instead of turning the arms through, they might try to pull the arms through or pull down on the club, or without a lot of body turn, might try to be really strong and try to make up the slack with the pulling or brute forcing of the arms. Now, for this golfer, the mental imagery of a passive release could work very well for them, as you teach them to just leave their arms at the top and turn, and it almost feels like the club is automatically going to come whipping through. It will certainly bring down some of the tension in the arms and in your wrists. So if you're a puller, a harpooner, something like that, you're a jabber or a chicken winger, all those nicknames, this idea might work very, very well for you. So to execute a passive release swing, like I showed you, you would get to the top of the swing, leave the arm and club at the top of the swing, shift to the left foot, turn the torso as far around as you can get it, while the arm stays behind, and then just do a very light toss of the club through the impact zone, feeling like the arm and wrist stay rubbery, and almost do not add anything to the golf swing. Okay, so then there's an active release. Like we said, all swings fall into the category of active release because you simply cannot get power or square up the club face unless your hands are applying some kind of torque to the club head, and they're being what we'd call very active. Now, how active? Is there a level activity that's the best or better than others? Well, that depends on what kind of shot that you need. So if you need a really big drive, then you're going to put in more activity or more torque, a burst of torque from the top of the swing. You'll be adding to the equation, and that's going to help you speed up the club, get the ball down the fairway further. So I'm going to swing once, and I'm going to show you a little bit of extra applied torque that I'm going to be using, not with the pull of my arms, but with the throwing of the club head. Here we go. All right, if I didn't need a really big drive and I just needed a medium-sized drive because maybe the hole tightens up or have to lay up some obstacle or hazard down the way, and I might just take a medium amount of activity and make a somewhat active release. This might look a bit more relaxed and effortless to you. Even a little pitch shot, even though I am feeling like I'm fairly relaxed and I'm almost feeling like my body turn and shift are giving me some sort of, quote, passive release, we know that there still would be activity, active release with the hands in order to square it up and get it to go the right amount of distance. So this will just be a little half swing pitch. Feeling really relaxed and probably looking on camera to be relatively effortless, and I certainly turned through it nicely, but I absolutely had to add some uncocking and squaring up active torque to the release of the club head. All right, so just keep in mind that while a passive release doesn't exist, there are qualities in those images that can help a lot of golfers out there, big, strong ones who don't hit so far, older golfers who aren't turning their body very much or shifting their weight very much. These are really nice ideas to try to feel during a golf swing, that the turn of the swing turns the arms through, that the arms stay very soft and relaxed, and really don't add anything with the hands at all to the swing. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Thanks to Golf Development Complex. Moorpark, California is where I'm located. Thanks for hosting us today. And I hope you'll work on this a little bit and understand the difference between passive and active. And hey, if I don't see you in the next video, I hope I see you longer and straighter down the fairway. So take care.